There's a special kind of fear that comes from realizing you're responsible for someone else's safety, and there's nothing you can do when that safety begins to slip away. Welcome to Night Encounters. Tonight, you'll hear three allegedly true stories from babysitters who found themselves in deeply unsettling situations. Moments where paranoia met reality and survival depended on instinct. These are three terrifying true babysitting horror stories. Story 1: The Man by the Fence, by E.M. This happened in the spring of 2017 when I was 19. I had just started babysitting for a couple who recently moved into our neighborhood. They lived on the edge of town, one of those newer houses surrounded by patches of woods and half-finished construction lots. Their daughter, Mia, was 6, bright, talkative, the kind of kid who asks 100 questions about light switches and clouds. I had babysat for them twice before without issue. That Saturday night, everything felt normal. The parents left around 7, promising they'd be home by midnight. The house smelled faintly of fresh paint and detergent. I ordered a pizza. Mia watched her cartoons in her pajamas, and for the first couple of hours it was peaceful, almost cozy. Then the wind picked up outside. It was the kind of wind that makes fence panels rattle and garbage cans roll. The walls creaked softly, and the trees brushed against the windows like long, whispering fingers. Still, nothing out of the ordinary. Until I noticed Mia standing in the living room, staring out the back window. "What's wrong, Mia?" I asked. She didn't answer for a moment. Then she said quietly, "There's a man by the fence." I laughed at first, thinking maybe one of the neighbors was outside. I walked over to the window, but the backyard was dark. Only the motion light over the deck glowed faintly, spilling a cone of yellow into the yard. No one. "Mia," I said gently, "there's nobody there. It's just the wind." She frowned a little, still looking past me. "He was there a second ago." He was looking at us. Her expression made my stomach tighten. Kids see shadows, I told myself. They imagine things. But as I clicked off the living room light to prove a point, something outside caught my eye. The fence gate at the back of the yard moved, just slightly, like someone had touched it. I froze, staring into the darkness. The gate rocked one more time, then went still. It could have been the wind. It should have been the wind. But something about the motion seemed deliberate, slow, careful. I locked the back door just in case and drew the curtains. I didn't want to freak Mia out, but my chest was already tight with unease. We went upstairs. I got her ready for bed, read a short picture book, and tucked her in. She was asleep within 10 minutes, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been watching. Around 9:45, I went back downstairs and turned off the TV. The house felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every tiny creak. Then, a dull thump came from outside. My heart jumped. It sounded like something hitting wood. Not loud, but sharp enough to make my pulse start racing. I peeked through the kitchen window, holding my breath. The patio light flickered once, and then turned off completely. That was weird. The bulb was new. Then I saw him. A faint shape, tall and still, standing just beyond the light's edge, near the back fence. He didn't move, just stood there, watching the house. My throat went dry. I barely breathed while I slowly reached for my phone. There was a moment of debating whether I should call the parents or the police. I told myself I might be overreacting. Maybe it was a neighbor, a delivery guy lost. But then he took a step forward. In the darkness, I could see the faint outline of a hood, and then, glinting briefly, something metallic in his hand. My entire body went cold. I backed away from the window, trying not to make a sound. I locked both sliding doors, checked the front door twice, and grabbed the cordless phone from its base. As I started to dial 911, there was a sudden knock, hard, from the back door. 3 knocks, slow and spaced out, like whoever was outside wanted me to know they were there. I remember whispering to myself, almost delirious, "He knows I saw him." Mia woke up to my voice, calling down for me in confusion. I told her to stay in her room and shut the door. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears as I ducked behind the couch, phone shaking in my hand. The operator picked up. I told her someone was outside the house, possibly armed. She said officers were on their way. That's when I heard the gate creak again, followed by footsteps, not heavy, but careful, creeping. He was moving along the side of the house now. The seconds between then and the sirens felt endless. Every sound made me flinch. The scrape of branches, the creak of siding. When the patrol car finally pulled up, its headlights swept across the yard, and the figure was gone. The officer found clear footprints in the mud by the fence, leading from the woods. But they stopped right before the gate, like the person backed away and left the same way they'd come. No one was caught. No one ever identified. The family installed cameras the next week. I never babysat for them again. To this day, I still wonder if he'd been watching from the woods the whole time, waiting for an opportunity. And sometimes, when I drive past that street at night, I swear I catch a glimpse of someone standing near the fence, motionless, just out of the light. Soft static hum fades, transitions into low ambient drone as story ends. Story 2, The Silent Upstairs, by JT. I was 16 when this happened, the summer before my final year of high school. Babysitting for the Thompsons was an easy way to make money. They lived in a renovated farmhouse a few miles from our town's old highway. You had to drive a winding road lined with overgrown hedges to get there. At night, the trip felt twice as long. Their son Mason was 8, full of energy but shy, especially after dark. That night, the air felt heavy with August humidity. The parents left after a quick rundown of the security system, a new addition since a recent string of break-ins in the area. By 9 o'clock, Mason was asleep upstairs. I checked every lock, double-checked the alarm panel, and settled in with my textbooks at the kitchen table. The house creaked and settled in waves. Sometimes I'd look up and see a dark window framed against moonlit fields. I felt safe, but every so often my mind would wander to headlines about home invasion. About an hour later, I heard a soft thud from upstairs, not loud, but enough to cut through the silence. I paused, listening. Mason's room was directly above the kitchen and the floorboards were old. They popped and shifted with every step. I called up quietly, "Mason, are you okay?" No answer. After a minute, I grabbed the flashlight and made my way up the narrow hallway. His door was open, just a crack. I nudged it, expecting to find him awake or maybe see his stuffed bear on the floor. But Mason was curled up beneath his blanket, completely asleep. I scanned the hallway. There was nothing. No sign anything had been out of place. Even so, my stomach knotted. The house had another floor above, an unused attic with a door at the very end of the hall. Back downstairs, I shut off all but one lamp, opened a textbook, and tried to focus. My nerves buzzed. Every time the wind picked up, the house felt alive, boards flexing, glass sighing. At 10:30, I heard another sound. This time, it was unmistakable and closer. The distinct tap of footsteps moving slowly above me. It wasn't Mason. The steps were too heavy, measured, almost deliberate, not the random noise of plumbing or settling. Heart pounding, I listened. The sound faded, then came back, followed by a gentle scrape against the floorboards. My mind raced. Could someone be in the attic? The thought crawled under my skin, but I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was a raccoon, or a gust of wind, or a branch. Still, the footsteps persisted. Sometimes they'd stop as soon as I moved, only for me to hear them start up again when everything was quiet. Just before 11, I went out to the porch. The field behind the farmhouse was misty and dark. Nothing out there but waving grass and old fence posts. I dialed the Thompsons to ask if anyone ever went up to the attic. Maybe a maintenance worker, a neighbor? They said no. Minutes later, the alarm panel beeped softly. An alert showed upstairs window, open. I felt my throat tighten. That window was supposed to be sealed shut. I rushed upstairs, my feet thudding against the old wood, flashlight jarring in my grip. Mason was still asleep. The attic door at the end of the hall was slightly ajar, moved from how it was earlier. The cold air hit my face as I stepped closer. The attic was pitch black, the smell of dust and paint sharp in the silence. Then, just outside the window, I saw the faintest silhouette, a human shape slipping away through the shadows and ducking under the eaves. My heart slammed in my chest. I bolted downstairs, managed to hit the emergency alarm, and grabbed Mason from bed, carrying him out onto the front porch. We waited under the porch light, which flickered with every heartbeat. The police arrived in under 10 minutes. They found mud prints on the attic floorboards and old tool marks around the window frame. Whoever it was had probably been watching for weeks, maybe trying to find an easy way inside. The officer said someone had used a thin wire to trip the latch on the attic window. They searched the fields and found nothing, just crushed grass and a torn scrap of blue denim snagged on the fence. I shook for hours. Mason didn't fully understand what happened. He just clung to my arm. I spent the rest of the night in the police cruiser, waiting for the Thompsons to return. They upgraded the house security after that, and I never babysat at the farmhouse again. Sometimes in the early morning mist, I still remember that silent figure slipping away through the dark and wonder if he'd ever returned, if he's still out there, watching and waiting for a night when no one's awake. Story 3, The Midnight Caller by R.L. It was late autumn, 2020. I was 24, living in a small college town, picking up extra babysitting shifts while classes were mostly online. The place was safe, quiet, and routine, the kind of town where people don't bother locking their doors until winter. I got a request one Thursday evening from a new client, the Wards. Their apartment was on the top floor of a 3-story building at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. Modern, well-lit hallways, security doors, more neighbors than I was used to. Their daughter, Luna, was 3. Quiet but sweet. The parents explained they'd be gone until after midnight, left a list of emergency contacts, and assured me the building had good security. After dinner, Luna was asleep in her toddler bed, and I sat flipping through my phone on their couch, glancing at the news, trying to ignore how empty the place felt. The apartment buzzed with the muffled hum of city life, distant traffic, showers running in other units. Nothing unusual, just the sound of a clock ticking and the faint glow of the hallway light. At 10:40, Luna woke up crying, not just whimpering. It was a shrill panic scream. I hurried in, calming her, asking if she had a nightmare. She kept pointing at her window, which faced the dark alley behind the building. "Scary man," she sobbed. He's looking. I checked the window and saw nothing. No sign of anyone, just the orange glow of a security lamp illuminating wet pavement. Her reaction made my heart beat a little faster, but I chalked it up to a bad dream. Kids her age get scared easily. But leaving her room, I noticed the hallway outside had gotten strangely quiet. No footsteps, no doors, none of that faint hum of city life. It made my stomach sink, like something was wrong, just out of sight. I checked every lock and peered through the peephole at the front door. The corridor was empty. An hour crawled by, the apartment cloaked in eerie silence. Each time I shifted on the couch, old boards creaked. With every passing minute, the feeling of unease grew, that thick, crawling sense of being watched. At 11:45, the building's intercom buzzed. The screen showed nothing, just a patch of darkness shrouded in static. I ignored it at first, but it buzzed again, longer this time. I pressed the talk button, whispering, "Hello?" Static. Then a male voice. "I'm here for the girl." Just 7 words, breaths heavy in the gaps. My stomach flipped, blood roaring in my ears. I hung up immediately and triple-checked the locks. Then, to my horror, the voice started calling the apartment landline. Not my cell, but the number the wards had printed on their fridge. I let it ring. The 4th time, the answering machine picked up. The same voice. "You can't hide her. I know where you are." I clung to the silence, trying not to panic, my heart pounding as I dialed the police. Luna slept through the commotion, face buried in her pillow. 12 minutes passed. The intercom buzzed twice more, each time with static, no picture, just that same slurred breathing and phrases whispered so quietly I couldn't make them out. I killed the lights and moved Luna into the bedroom closet with me, my hand clamped over her mouth to keep her quiet. Footsteps echoed up the stairwell toward our floor. I could see shadows crossing under the door frame, pausing, listening. Someone rattled the handle but did not knock, just jostled it, then stood motionless. My entire body shook. I heard the sound of keys, not silver, but plastic, like a card being swiped. But nothing opened. After what felt like forever, the footsteps retreated down the stairs. The police arrived 5 minutes later. They searched the building, asked neighbors if they'd seen anything. Nobody had. The security cameras for the floor had been tampered with. All footage from that night scrubbed. Police took a statement, but there wasn't much to go on. Just a voice, a string of phone calls, and Luna's terrified insistence that the scary man was real. The wards installed a new locking system, changed their phone number, and moved apartments within a month. They never found out who the caller was or how he knew their information. I stopped babysitting altogether after that night. Sometimes when my phone rings unexpectedly, I still get the urge to check every window and door just to make sure. Whatever the truth, that night left me rattled. And to this day, the feeling of being watched never fully went away. Sometimes the greatest terror isn't found in ghost stories or legends, but in mundane moments, the ones that upend our sense of safety when darkness finds a way inside. Have you experienced something similar, or know a story that deserves to be heard? If you have a true original account and would like to be featured in a future video, please email us at nightencountersstories@gmail.com. Stay safe out there. And remember, when you're alone, pay attention